the president has declared a state of emergency on food, security in the land. And I guess just about everybody can understand that. That didn't come as a surprise. Maybe it's even a pleasure that it's being addressed like this, because people have felt that we are really in a pretty bad place when it comes to our food supply and consequent food security. Well, today we're going to be talking with our friend, policy and development, as well as policy development and advocacy expert, Jake Epele. Good morning, Jake, and thank you for making time for us this morning.
Thank you, my very good friend, and one of the best voice in broadcasting. Thank you.
You're far too kind, Jake. Thank you very, very much. Jake, I'm guessing that you must be, quite delighted that the president has declared a state of emergency as it relates to, agriculture.
Yes, I think it's a proactive step, and it's beginning to showcase the leadership quality of the president. And because once a leader feels the pulse of the people and provide a strategic solution to their need, that individual is a great leader. I think it's the right thing to do, and the need that he is focusing on food security, which obviously oftentimes the people that bear the brunt is the most vulnerable and the poor in our society.
We have a package on it. Let's just take that package to refresh our minds, even though it's just between yesterday and today, and then we'll come back and continue on aspects of this policy.
Thank you.
Tinubu says his administration is worried about the clear and present danger to food security in the country. The recent policy of fuel subsidy removal has taken a toll on food prices and now threatens food security. President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency on food security seeks to reverse the inflationary cost of food items and ensure affordability.
The president has declared with immediate effect the following actions. 1, a state of emergency on food security. 2, that all matters pertaining to food and water availability and affordability as essential livelihood items be included within the purview of the National Security Council.
The annual inflation rate in Nigeria rose for the 4th consecutive month to a near 18-year high of 22.41% in May this year. These new measures introduced by the Tinubu administration is meant to stop the hike in food prices and possibly force a downward trend.
We shall create and support a national commodity exchange board that will review and continuously assess food prices as well as maintain strategic food reserve that will be used as price stabilization mechanism for critical grains and other food items.
It seems this time the federal government may be out to find a lasting and sustainable solution to the farmer-herders conflict, which again is a serious threat to food security. President Tinubu's administration says it will adopt ranching as against cattle herding. The president seeks an increased and improved participation of relevant government institutions and stakeholders in the agricultural sector. But he insists the Central Bank of Nigeria will continue to play the lead role in funding the value chain of the agricultural sector that already accounts for 35.21% of employment in Nigeria. This latest government initiative is expected to draw the country closer to achieving Sustainable Development Goal 2, which focuses on ending hunger, achieving food security, improved nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
So there you have it in a nutshell. It's a far-ranging plan. And, well, our guest, as I said, Jake Epele. Mr. Epele is a policy development and advocacy expert. He's spoken about this. He's highly impressed. He said that it says something about the leader itself. But Jake, now looking at aspects of those things, it's like one begins to wonder almost like what were we thinking before? Because I particularly note one aspect of this, which is that year-round farming, that can be done. It's just that it will take a certain measure of effort. But ideas like that, how do they strike you?
Very impressive. Year-round farming is very possible, taking into consideration the greenhouse effect, taking into consideration the technology, what technology can do. Of course, the climate change is pushing us in that direction to think technology and to use technology and mechanize farming and agricultural production. So it's a very laudable initiative. The problem is always in implementation. Using the right people to implement many of these fine strategies, ensuring that there is availability of funds, because it requires some funding mechanism to push through some of these ideologies. Making sure that the people, the poorest of the poorest, will have access to the dividends of these initiatives are very, very key to successful implementation of these laudable ideas. I pray that the president will look inward and choose the right people who have the right heart to serve, and ensure that the people that he is targeting will eventually benefit.
Because all of this is going to cost some.
Yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money. And I'm not an advocate for the president going for loan. He has to be careful so that he doesn't make the mistake that his predecessors have made, putting the country into much more debt. I think, and I keep advocating for him to go after those who have stolen our money. The monies are in their account. I know that there is some intrigue negotiation at the background where some of them are being told to, look, return the money and we'll forgive you. That in itself is also fueling this corruption among politicians, because they said, well, anyone that they were able to get from me that I declare. And sometimes the way they negotiate this thing, somebody who has stolen 1 billion, they say, okay, keep 100 million, give us 900 million. At the end of the day, you're promoting corruption indirectly, So I think most of these corrupt politicians, not everybody, corrupt public officers, not everybody, the president should have a means by which Rubado had done a great job in terms of going after these corrupt individuals and getting the money back. I think he has to implement that strategy that he implemented a couple of years ago, and go after individuals and make sure that they get this money and stop borrowing.
Indeed. And well, increasing food production is the main objective, and there are all sorts of aspects to that. As you know, this is an emergency, so we might, probably what we might do now might be a catalyst to where we need to be. And here I'm talking specifically about mechanized agriculture. A lot of our people are agrarian, they're farmers, but I don't know, that whole large-scale thing hasn't been available before. We've tried it, all the machinery became decrepit. This might be an opportunity to now do it right, because there are aspects to this. Irrigation was mentioned, for instance. Irrigation was mentioned. If we're going to be doing year-round farming, irrigation is going to be in there, and that kind of thing. So what are your thoughts on going big? If not immediately, we have to. That's what the experts have been saying anyway, that we have to go beyond subsistence farming.
Well, while we plan for irrigation, which speaks to the northern farmers, which is a laudable idea too. We should also plan for flooding that is also affecting farmers in the south. You know, mechanized farming is a fantastic idea. It's achievable, but we also have to understand that we have a group of local farmers that are not educated enough to implement mechanized farming. So we must also have a strategy to address the needs of the local farmers. The local farmers, those who are, and their numbers are far more greater than those educated farmers who are using mechanized method. Again, I'm an advocate for both, you know, but we must also focus on what can we do to help the local farmers. Yes, free fertilizers is one of them. You know, is there any way we can begin to educate them, use those who know better than them to educate them? Is there any way we can begin to ensure that there is a means of transportation to transport what they have produced? Is there any way we can also educate them on how to preserve their seedlings? How will they preserve their seed so that at the end of the harvest season, they can plant that seed to get more harvest in the future? So there's a whole lot of value chain intervention. You know, local farmers must be encouraged. Local farmers must be educated. Local farmers must be helped. Many of them are producing a lot of food, and they have no means of transporting it, moving it from their farm to the market, and moving it from even the local market to a much more urban market. These are challenges, but these are challenges that are not insurmountable. We can solve them if we truly want to solve them. If the president gets the right people, you know, people whose interest is to serve the people, people whose interest is to preserve and ensure that his manifestos are followed through and through, then he will get results. Yeah. But if he wants to patronize his fellow politicians and give them position without purpose, we will have a problem. It will be like one good idea that has been rolled out, and at the end of the day, nothing is made out of it.
Indeed. At this stage, let me just bring in Bernard. Bernard has called in from Ikorodu. He wants to join the program. Good morning to you, Bernard.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling in. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, please. I would like to appreciate the President, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for even getting to know the mind of minor Nigerians who have suffered for the past 8 years, and now we're having a president who comes to our aid anytime we complain and coming up to see. Sincerely, the democracy now has become like a Champions League where every youth actually look into it, that they want to know what is actually going on, and sincerely it's becoming more interesting every day. Now, I want to come to the population of Nigeria compared to the food production on daily basis. If you look at it, I guess this problem of food security actually started from when they actually closed the border. The former president closed the border, and we could, though at some point we felt those rights were not too good for us, but then it actually, to some extent, it has actually helped the minor Nigerians to be able to fit on some certain things compared to what we have. So sincerely,
there's no minor Nigerian. I get your point. The ordinary Nigerian. Okay, you mean the ordinary Nigerian?
Sorry, an average Nigerian.
Average Nigerian. Okay.
Who are in below the feeding or below their daily consumption.
I understand. Okay.
So that's that one. So if they can actually look into this too, whereby food coming into the country, then plus the one we have in the country, then I think it will really, really go a long way.
Okay.
Spending the time that we get things right, then we can now start. Okay, now we want to see how we can now regulate how the food comes in and every other thing.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for calling in, Bernard. Jake, what do you, this whole idea about consume what you want to eat, and if you don't, if you can't, produce, I beg your pardon, what you produce, you consume. If you are getting used to, if you get used to consuming what you don't produce, so it always has to be imported, we all know the result of that. Do you think we could make a focus like that? Like, look, we actually have to now make a strike and really strive to produce as much as possible as what we need, and that which we don't need, you know, that is not important. What are your thoughts on that area? Because our tastes have grown phenomenally, and I don't know if it has all been positive.
Well, I'm just going to say, let me say what's on top of my mind about the president's strategy, which is very effective, but it can also be counterproductive if it's not followed through. The president has started this communication strategy of putting out what they are doing in the public domain, informing Nigerians what they are about to do and all that. They need to be careful, careful in the sense that if you keep rolling out these promises and you don't follow it up with performance,
yes,
you will have problem. Yeah, because you know, they say promises make relationship, performance keeps that relationship. So I think the same way they are rolling out some of these ideas, they should also roll out when they are getting solution. Communicate solutions you're getting based on the promises you've made. Yeah. I think Alaki, my friend, needs to listen to this. But however, like you rightly said, again, I wanted to also comment about the 8,000. You know, handing over money to people without a purpose will further put them into poverty. You know, so I would prefer a situation where you're saying to families, look, we're going to give you this 8,000. There are people that you will give 8,000 and they will turn around and give you 18,000 in a matter of days, a matter of weeks. So why don't we encourage families to go, even if it's small buying and selling within their the confines of their home, it would be more beneficial. You know, I would say that let's not hand over money to people without a purpose.
Okay.
Let's put a purpose to this. In answer to your question, oh yes, that's the problem. When we are encouraging overconsumption, overproduction, that's what you get. But then this country is rich enough to produce and have surplus and be able to export instead of importing what they consume. I think part of the palliatives or this food security chain intervention should be on educating the masses.
Indeed.
Going out there to educate the people.
Okay.
To look, cut your cloth according to your, cut your coat according to your cloth.
Exactly, yeah. According to your cloth.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't go eating what you cannot afford. Don't live a lifestyle that you can't afford.
One moment, please. I beg your pardon. Abati, Mr. Abati has called in from Agege. Mr. Abati, you still there?
Yeah, I'm around.
Okay, good morning. Sorry for keeping you waiting. Please go ahead now.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
And greetings to your guest there.
Yes.
Yes, I wanted to call, but I did not have access to you. And today, thank God you are still on Agric. I belong to Agric Group. We have a cooperative farmers association at Ogun State. We started in 2017 through IFAD. I don't know whether you are aware of that body. International Fund for Agric Development.
Okay.
They've been helping farmers, you know, for a very long time, especially in the north. So we always access a lot of farm equipment through them. You know, they will pay for 70% of whatever cost it is. We pay 30%. You know, the problem in Nigeria is not about availability of land in essence, but the fund, you know, to do the real farming is very lacking. The anchor point is not to talk about it yesterday. And other people that are assessing this thing are not farmers at all. Because the youth in particular, They are not having fun at all. We have about 1,000 hectares of land in Ogun State in two places, one at Ishola and another one at Oba. You don't mind the names. At Oba, we can do in dry season, the wet area. The one at Ishola, we can do it in dry area. The wet season is a dry area.
Okay.
But the problem we have is money. The anchor borrower is not giving to, the ordinary people at all. Since 2017 that we were just able to access little funds last year. And unfortunately, the whole was flooded up.
Okay, I'm afraid I'm going to have to come in. I want to thank you very much. Thank you very much for contributing the idea. I did hear what you were talking about, the difficulties with accessing the anchor borrowers fund to that extent. It hasn't worked for you. But Jake, we have just a little more time. So I wanted to bring another very important aspect of the president's emergency declaration on food, and that is that farmers, the problem of a lot of farmers, especially depending on where you are in the country, has been security. Now, the president says that indeed, no matter how it sounds, the military will be deployed to protect farmlands and farmers. Now, what do you think about that? Because that's a problem with farmers not being able to access their farms because of terrorists and bandits.
Exactly. I think the effect of this food insecurity is also traceable to the insecurity in general that we have in the country. Yes, it's also a very proactive step to ensure that the farmers and the farmland and the environment where they work are properly secured. Otherwise, we'll have a situation where they go to farm and then somebody will pick them up and kidnap them, and that's the end of their life. So there's a need for a very proactive security measure, not reactive. Let's not wait until they start picking these people off from their farm before we start running around to getting them out. Let's ensure that doesn't happen. And the more we do that, the more we encourage even new entrants into the farm ecosystem.
Indeed.
I think it's also important to underscore what the last caller said. And that's the fact that the government needs to collaborate with this cooperative society. Some of them are doing excellently well. There has to be some form of collaboration. And I think also as part of this measure, I don't know, and I'm sure it's part of what the president is rolling out, banks needs to encourage to give loans to those they know they can pay back and ensure that there is a recycle of that loan from one either cooperative society or a very well-known to another. But we must also make sure that we don't give loan to people who will turn around and go and buy SUVs and start driving.
Or marry extra wives.
Or marry many wives.
That kind of thing. Thank you very much, Jake.
It's very good. Yeah.
I just, we just have to start this. We've just taken a stab at it. No doubt we're going to come and talk about this in much more detail as the days go on. But as you said, it's an exciting development from this administration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jake Ekpele, our policy development and advocacy expert. Okay, stay with us. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll have a conversation with the governor of Taraba State.
In the month of July, on the 2nd of July, the global community celebrates World Sport Journalists Day. The 5th of July is the first anniversary of the Kuje prison attack when some Boko Haram insurgents escaped. The 7th of July marks 25 years since the winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, MKO Abiola, died. His death occurred in 1998. 11th of July is World Population Day, while 15th is World Youth Skills Day. On the 17th, attention is turned to World Day for International Justice, while 18th of July is Nelson Mandela Day to honor the former South African leader. 25th of July is the World Diaspora Day, and on the 28th, the World Hepatitis Day is commemorated, as well as the World Nature Conservation Day. On the 29th of July, President Bola Tinubu will mark 2 months in office, and the 30th of July is World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. Brace up and tune in to TVC News for in-depth analysis and reports. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Every week, Green Angle, in partnership with Wild Aid, will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing biodiversity, from climate change, air pollution, and wildlife conservation. We will be traveling across Nigeria to give you on-the-ground report of the issues affecting our environment. It airs every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Okay, welcome back. And as I said, we have the opportunity to have a chat with the governor of Taraba, Abu Kefas. Governor Kefas, thank you very much for making time for us this morning.
Thank you.
Well, you've been in the news. Your state, Taraba, has been in the news in recent days. There's a lot going on, and I imagine there's also a lot that you probably can tell us, although we don't have all the time that we would like. Now, let's start this way. You are in the process of fixing your state, Taraba, because this was part of, your, campaign efforts. Now, all sorts of things have been happening. We've been reading in the press, education, which is a main thing. Suddenly, education is free at the primary, secondary level, and at the university level, it's been slashed by 50%. This follows a round of inspection you conducted, and you weren't satisfied at all with what's going on. Tell me a bit more about that, sir.
Thank you very much. Even though you are not very audible, but I can pick your question. In the first place, it is the responsibility of the government to provide services to the people and to also give them a sense of belonging and protection. And one of the very important pillars of a good foundation is education. And as you can see, Taraba State is a little backward in terms of facilities and in terms of encouragement for children. And from the statistics that I gathered during my campaign, and that's why I made a promise during my campaign that secondary and primary school will be compulsory and free for all. In Taraba State, in the whole of the 16 local government, we have 2,070 primary schools, and we have 541,021 students in primary schools, and we have 16,400 teachers. While in secondary school, we have 281 secondary schools. We have 66,984 students, and then 4,062 teachers. This is a state where you have close to 4 million people. And you can see that we have a lot of out-of-school children. There are some families that maybe they have 10 children, and they could only afford primary, secondary education for just 1 or 2 persons, and then they will ask the remaining one to wait. And it's our responsibility as a government to make sure that we cover the gap, and that is why I have to make this declaration that primary and secondary school is free and compulsory for all. Now, when the students graduate from secondary school and they gain admission into the university, the problem of sponsorship and school fees also comes up. So what do we do? So as part of palliative for the parents and the students, we needed to do that. We needed to slash the fees. So the government will sit down as a team to look at areas and what we can do to boost our economy and also to help to solve this problem. And that's why the government is there. We need to think out of the box. We need to be very proactive. We need to act. We need to be more responsible so that we reduce the issues of insecurity, people don't even having anything to do because they can't think much. But when you are educated, you will be exposed to so many things and you can make use of your initiative. So these are the basis in which we decide to take the decision we've taken.
Now, while it's good news, no doubt, to the parents, especially of these students and their guardians, the truth, of course, is that there really is no free lunch. Somebody is paying for that lunch that is free to someone else. You started by saying that, well, you know, the state is not where it wants to be, you know, at the moment, but you're working on it. So you have to be as frugal as you can. So this probably now links back into the, you know, the consortium of banks that you are talking to, you know, get, you know, a facility. I just wanted to know, is it internally generated revenue is going to be added to that? How this is going to be paid for, bearing in mind that that free lunch that somebody is enjoying, somebody is picking up the tab in another place.
Thank you very much. We are working on the supplementary budget, and while we are meeting with the banks to know the kind of facility we can draw from them, and then we are working to ensure that our internally generated revenue goes up. And how do we intend to achieve that? We have very huge potentials in the area of mining, in the area of agriculture, in the area of tourism, and so many things that we can generate revenue to meet up with it. So if we have a responsibility, if we set a goal, and we commit ourselves in embarking on this project, we will be more responsible, we'll be thinking and working to see that we pay off some of this. But we need a stabilization fund to start up from somewhere, and then we'll be able to partner with people to see that we achieve our goals. So it is achievable as far as I am concerned.
This, you know, this responsibility that you've said government is going to face squarely and take on, there also is the matter of local council workers. I think there was a matter of they have not been able to be paid, and this has brought some, sort of, you know, discouragement to the system. Some other people are saying that is not quite as true, but luckily we have you. How much of a problem is payment of local council officials? And is it important into your overall plan of taking Taraba forward?
Of course, every worker is worthy of his wages. If you work, you should be paid. So the issue of controversy is not there. Anybody that works will be paid. And if there are issues along the line, we're able to sit down and reason together, because all of us are from the state and all of us understand our problem. All we're trying to do is problem solving. Already we are paying pensions, we are taking them gradually, we are paying salaries, we are doing all that we need to do as a government. And the people know that we are very sincere in what we are trying to do. So there is much cooperation. But where there are some discrepancies or issues, we will always resolve them amicably.
Okay, let me talk about, or shall I say, find out about the security situation in Taraba, because you've been busy in that regard. And I think this is, probably your preserve. I mean, after all, you are a retired colonel in the Nigerian Army, so you are fairly in your element there. Give me an assessment, if you will, of the state of security, because security and development go hand in hand. What would be your assessment of the state of security in Taraba?
Thank you. By my own assessment, based on my expertise and understanding of security, I would say that Taraba State is relatively peaceful, and the issue of achieving 100% or perfect or stable security is a work in progress. So what I'm doing now, I'm looking at areas where there's likely to be or indicators of crisis or anything, to work out solution to see how I can block that. And also we worked out our security plan for the future, where we will employ all the necessary technology, deploying of manpower from the federal troops and also local arrangements, where we engage all the communities, create awareness, speak to the traditional rulers, make them to be involved, make them to feel part of the government, and then to also use their own traditional method of securing their areas, giving information, intelligence, and early warning, and then the federal troops are there to respond to any event.
What is the nature of the security challenges in Taraba? I mean, are we talking here about religious? Is it religious? Is it bandits, terrorists, communal clashes? What is the nature of the challenges to security in Taraba?
Well, what is on ground now is maybe kidnapping in some instances, some areas. You talk about theft. You have people, because of poverty, hunger, they go to steal one thing or the other. You have things like ethnic disputes or crises, which they are also resolvable. It's just to make the people understand that they're important, they're part of the state, and get them engaged and give them responsibility. So these are some of the things we are witnessing. But because we have issues of kidnapping, banditry, herders and farmers clashes, and so on in Nigeria, there might be a kind of split over. So we will put everything in place to make sure that we mitigate that and stop some of these things from coming to our state, because we share border with Benue, we share border with Adamawa, we share border with Gombe, we share border with Plateau, also share border with Cameroon, and so on. So we are very conscious of our environment and our neighbors. So anything that is happening in those areas, threat to security, we know that if we don't keep our house in order, we can also experience that. But presently, I think what I've mentioned, there are things that you can see. For religious crisis, we don't usually have religious crisis. The only time you see some of these things will surface is when during politics or election, and these are areas you see people struggling for their on and so forth. But apart from that, everywhere we become very silent. So we are very dynamic in Taraba.
Okay, because I'm looking at news reports. If I remember correctly, Karim Lamido local government things must be getting better there because there was almost like a blanket curfew, but you subsequently reduced that by half. So that must mean you are studying the situation and things are getting better. That's my assessment of it.
Well, like the Karim-Lamido issue, the crisis between the Karimjo and the Ukum because of chieftaincy and so on, well, I've waved into it, and we sat down with the leaders of those two groups, and we spoke to ourselves in the closed door, and we came up with a solution, and I think that solution will be permanent. So for that, it has been actually resolved. And apart from resolving some of these crises, you see that people have died, some people's homes were burned down. So it is where the government also steps in. You don't just ask people to be calm and then stop them and so on and leave them. No, you have to cater for the trauma, the psychological problem they've gone through in crisis those have survived. So I've also set up another committee to assess the losses, and then we as a government will take responsibility and build them, get them back into the society, reintegrate them back into life so that they'll be able to live again. So give them hope, and I don't think they'll be able to have that kind of crisis anymore. So this is what we have done so far.
When you were talking about potential, potentials for internally generated revenue earlier, you spoke about mining, agriculture, and tourism. Moving now from the problem side of town to potentials, what is also available. Mining, tourism, among others. Tell me, are there any development plans there? Because I know that definitely you are very keen on development of infrastructure, but if you were to look at those three first, mining, agriculture, and indeed tourism, are there development programs to further, enhance, receipts from those areas?
Of course, all these are gearing towards development. We have to develop those areas that we mentioned, and also infrastructural development for the whole entire state. I've just appointed my cabinet. They'll be sworn in by next week, and they were going to have our executive council meeting, and then we'll sit down and look at how we can take them in stages based on the plans we have on ground. So once we look at that, all those things you're talking about, you will begin to see them.
I know that you're going to be, especially when it comes to the area of infrastructural development, you're probably going to be taking one day at a time. But surely you can give us a peek into what the roadmap is, what the plan is in terms of infrastructural development. Is it a maintenance issue? Is it about breaking into new fields? Is it skyscrapers? What indeed are your sort of objectives in that regard?
All encompassing. There are areas that you need to carry out maintenance, renovate some structures, especially the secretariat where the civil servants operate from. There are some structures that are still strong, that are down, you put them up. And you need to look at roads. There are some roads that need rehabilitation. There are some places that need new roads. You try to also link those roads to communities so that they can access certain facilities. And then you need to also lighten up the city, because any town that is not lighting up, that is dark, criminals can also take advantage of that to carry out some activities in the night. So these are things that we'll try to do them step by step as we get more resources, get more support, and from investors, from people that want to partner with us. So we also make sure that some of these facilities are there. they need very good hospitality facilities like good hotels, good public structures, and also like the stadium. We have a very big stadium in Jalingo, and we need to renovate and bring that stadium back to life so that sporting activities and so many things can commence. These are things that will attract people more to Taraba. Then the airport, which we have in Jalingo, we've gone 90%. The airport is open for flight. Very soon, commercial flights will start coming in. So these are things that we are trying to put in place and to ensure that people can use this facility, use this infrastructure to make progress, to do businesses, to access areas, especially farmlands and the rest of things like that.
Okay, Mr. Akonde in Abuja, thank you for holding on. Good morning to you. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning.
Your Excellency, thank you. You started on a good note, but
please don't listen to that echo. Just continue.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. My point is that in the person that despite the fact that I'm a Yoruba man, so what I want to know, out of 16 local governments in Taraba, is only 9 local governments that has electricity. What is the Mr. Governor doing about lighting up the rest of the local government in Taraba? Actually, Taraba can fuel the whole nation, the whole country, if we can harness the resources that is in that state. That is number one. The Takun problem, the insecurity in Takun, in Bali local government, what are you trying to do about it? Please.
Okay, I'm going to have to take it from there. Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Akonde. Really appreciate you. Mr. Governor, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Well, I don't know whether you are very familiar with Taraba, because the way you're talking, you've given us statistics about local government that have light and the ones that don't have light. We're just a month old in this region. We are putting everything on the table, on the ground, to make sure that we revive things that need to be revived. We create what we need to create. Like in the area of electricity, we thank God for Mr. President for solving the issue, at least for states to be able to distribute electricity. So we are going to look at that very well and see how we can link up the various local government with light, and the state headquarters Jalingo also with light. But these are things that we need time. We are taking them step by step to get there. And these are very important infrastructure, very important facility for business, for development, for anything that you have to do. Without energy or power or electricity, whatever you call it, you cannot achieve anything. So if you want people to be engaged in business, to make resources available, to create things, they must access some of these things, especially power. So it is our responsibility to engage the necessary stakeholders on that to see that we lighten up the state. So I want to assure you that it's one of the plans we have on ground.
Okay. Well, as I said, we're delighted that you gave us, you made it yourself available for us. And you've just said that you're very, new, so people should maybe just, give a bit more time. But very, very briefly, in about 100 days, what are there one or two things that you hope the people would see in about 100 days?
My own concept of 100 days probably is different from the way people think. At the end of 99 days, 100 days, I will come out and ask people, what do you think I've achieved? What do you, because I'm coming to serve the people. They are to assess me and tell me what I have done or achieved in 100 days, or what I have not been able to achieve in 100 days. Then I will now tell them, okay, probably I left this out. I'm going to achieve it in maybe 300 days or 6 months, so on like that. So I think for me, I'm not to assess myself because it will become too political. But I want the people to tell me the impact, to tell me what I have done, that they will say, yes, you are making progress, or no, you are not meeting up. So I want to hear from them, because if I stay here, I can count so many things that probably is not even anything to the people. So I want the people to tell me by themselves, to assess me, since they vote me in and I'm there to serve them. So I want them to tell me what they feel that I've done in 100 days.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Governor. The one thing that is sure is that you're going to be working flat out for your people. That is why you're going to leave it to the people themselves. Say, you evaluate that. I've given my best. You've said that more than once, and that you intend to give your best. Thank you very much, Governor Agbo Kefas, Colonel retired.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then, so that's our program today. Then please join us on Monday for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Laborlands, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Laborlands, I ensure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
Do you spend the night trying to get comfortable? Your knees rub bone on bone, your back and hips ache. You wake up in pain? Not anymore. ShopX TV is proud to introduce the Contour Legacy Pillow, the patented, ergonomically designed tapered leg pillow that naturally fits the contours of your legs, knees and thighs to help align your spine and alleviate pain. Watch, when you sleep on your side, your leg falls forward, twisting your pelvis and lower back, putting pressure on your spine, hip and sciatic. But the Contour Legacy Pillow cushions your knees and cradles your legs, relieving stress on joints while restoring your lower back alignment. Sleeping on your side, your leg comes over and puts you out of alignment, causing lower back pain, hip pain, even knee pain. By using the Contour Legacy Pillow, it restores the natural alignment of the spine, helping to alleviate pain and pressure, leading to much more restful sleep. Old-fashioned leg pillows are bulky, but the anatomical design of the Legacy Pillow fits perfectly the shape of your body the way nature intended. You can even use two together for full leg alignment. Legacy Pillow is exclusively ventilated, so it always stays cool and dry. With top crescent design, it cuddles up to you perfectly and easily moves with you. Ordinary pillows go flat, but the Legacy Pillow is made up of soft memory foam, so it never loses its shape and the cover is machine washable. The Contour Legacy Pillow is now available in Nigeria, exclusively from ShopX TV. You could be paying up to 500,000 naira for an orthopedic bed that doesn't properly support your spine. But call the number on your screen now and get 2 Legacy leg pillows for just 69,900 naira and get relief from back and hip issues. But wait!
If you call now, we'll upgrade you to the Contour Better Sleep Collection. The collection comes with 2 Contour Legacy leg pillows and 2 Contour Cool Gel head pillows at no extra charge. The Contour Cool Gel head pillows' soothing orthopedic support will cradle your head and neck for full alignment, while keeping you cool all through the night for the best sleep of your life. Incredible! That's 2 Contour Legacy pillows and 2 Cool Gel head pillows for just 69,900 naira. And that's not all. Place your order now and we'll also deliver your Contour Better Sleep collection with no shipping charge. But hurry! This is an exclusive ShopX TV offer and only available for a limited period. So, call now while stock lasts. Your rest is your wealth. The proceeding was a paid presentation brought to you by ShopX TV.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
It's always a great morning on the TVC Breakfast Show.
Thanks for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
With the array of stories that matter and what's behind them.
As you say, the first blow indicates the direction of government.
Tell us what really is going on between your union and the federal government.
Once it's generated,
if you don't use it, it's waste. We are not even sure whether we have a strategy for security.
Are you saying that?
Hello there, and thanks for joining us on TVC Midday News. We begin in Abuja, where an FCT High Court has dismissed a charge filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission against the former governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha. The FCC had instituted the criminal charge of alleged fraud against the former governor, whom they alleged he committed during his tenure. And this will be the third decision that will be delivered by a court of competent jurisdiction over charges of fraud filed by the EFCC against Senator Okorocha. The Federal High Court Abuja had in February discharged the senator of 2.9 billion naira fraud charges preferred against him by the EFCC. Justice Eyang Eko in the ruling struck out the charges for contravening Section 105 Subsection 3 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act of the year 2015, which gives the Attorney General of the Federation the power to recall a case. The court agreed with Senator Okorocha that the earlier judgment of a court of coordinate jurisdiction sitting in Port Harcourt between him and the EFCC, restraining the agency from further proceeding on the alleged offense, subsists.
Nigeria as a nation, we must do everything to protect its integrity. I believe that nothing should discourage the agency from doing their work. They should do their work. They're doing quite well, but they should try to make sure everything is within the ambit of the law. That's just what we're saying. But I just thank God Almighty that finally, the third time actually, that same court is saying the same thing over and over and over again. So this is not about who is wrong, who has won or who has lost. It's about this nation. Fighting against corruption is something that must be done, and we must continue to do that, support the to do that, but let it be within the ambit.
Staying with the course, the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal has reserved judgment in the petition filed by the Allied People's Movement. At the resumed sitting on Friday, counsel to the petitioner and the respondents adopted the final written addresses. The Independent National Electoral Commission, alongside the APC and the President, asked the court to dismiss the petition for lacking in merit. They argued that the issues canvassed by the petitioner have been settled by a judgment delivered by the Supreme Court. The APM's ground for the petition is that the Vice President Kashim Shettima was allegedly not qualified to contest, having engaged, according to them, in double nomination. The chairman of the panel, Justice Haruna Samani, announced that judgment has been reserved and a date will be communicated to parties. He added that the court plans to deliver its judgment in the petition by the APM the same day with that of the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party. Away from the courts now, President Bola Tinubu has declared a state of emergency on food security in the country. The president has also directed that all matters pertaining to food and water availability and affordability be included within the purview of the National Security Council. President Tinubu also says his administration will deploy some savings from the petrol subsidy removal into revamping the agricultural sector. TVC News State House correspondent Femi Akonde reports.
President Bola Tinubu says his administration is worried about the clear and present danger to food security in the country. The recent policy of fuel subsidy removal has taken a toll on food prices and now threatens food security. President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency on food security seeks to reverse the inflationary cost of food items and ensure affordability.
The president has declared with immediate effect the following actions. 1. A state of emergency on food security. 2. That all matters pertaining to food and water availability and affordability as essential livelihood items be included within the purview of the National Security Council.
The annual inflation rate in Nigeria rose for the fourth consecutive month to a near 18-year high of 22.41% in May this year. These new measures introduced by the Tinubu administration is meant to stop the hike in food prices and possibly force a downward trend.
We shall create and support a national commodity exchange board that will review and continuously assess food prices as well as maintain strategic food reserve that will be used as price stabilization mechanism for critical grains and other food items.
It seems this time the federal government may be out to find a lasting and sustainable solution to the farmer-herders conflict, which again is a serious threat to food security. President Tinubu's administration says it will adopt ranching as against cattle herding. The president seeks an increased and improved participation of relevant government institutions and stakeholders in the agricultural sector. But he insists the Central Bank of Nigeria will continue to play the lead role in funding the value chain of the agricultural sector that already accounts for 35.21% of employment in Nigeria. This latest government initiative is expected to draw the country closer to achieving Sustainable Development Goal 2, which focuses on ending hunger, achieving food security, improved nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
And at the National Assembly, the Senate has passed an amendment bill to authorize the issuance of 819.5 billion naira from the 2022 supplementary budget to provide palliatives for the poor and vulnerable Nigerians. The upper legislative chamber also considered and approved President Tinubu's request for an additional financing of $800 million for the National Safety Net Program. National Assembly correspondent Jesu Adeoye reports.
Since the fuel subsidy removal, there has been calls from various quarters for President Bola Tinubu to come up with ways and means of easing the sufferings of poor Nigerians bearing the brunt of the ripple effect of subsidy removal. This has prompted the letter President Tinubu sent to the Senate. The first request made by President Tinubu is an amendment bill that will authorize the issuance of 819.5 billion naira from the 2022 supplementary budget to cushion the harsh effects already felt by the fuel subsidy removal.
So succor, because of the pain they are now, even though, well, we might say it's pain, but in the long run it's going to be something that's beneficial. And I'll begin to see it, because more money is now coming to the coffers of government that will be used in executing capital projects all over the country. So I call on my colleagues to support.
Take this 500 billion to provide palliatives for Nigerians in as a result of the reform being introduced by this administration.
President Tinubu also wants the approval of the Senate for additional financing of $800 million for the National Safety Net program to be sourced from the World Bank. Under the conditional cash transfer window of the program, the federal government will transfer 8,000 naira per month via digital transfer to 12 million poor and low-income households for a period of 6 months, with a multiplier effect on about 60 million individuals.
You may also wish to note that the purpose of the facility is to expand coverage of shock-responsive safety net support for the poor and vulnerable Nigerians, and to help them cope with the cost of meeting basic needs.
The Senate suspended its Standing Rule 78, subsection 1, to ensure it expressly considers Mr. President's request and pass it for immediate action.
It was quite a busy day for lawmakers as they thoroughly debated and scrutinized Mr. President's request. But the waiting game for President Tinubu's ministerial list continues as plenary was adjourned till next week, Tuesday. Tijesu Adeoye News, Abuja.
And with the confirmation of service chiefs by the Senate on Thursday, the security chiefs have promised to tackle the country's challenges head-on. And their confirmation comes barely 24 hours after troops of the Nigerian army killed 3 bandits in Mangu, Plateau State. But the security situation in the country continues to evolve, throwing up new challenges, as Sifon Essien reports.
Security forces have been put on their toes following a recent directive by President Bola Tinubu. The tasks before them include ending the carnage in Plateau and Benue State, as well as restoring peace to troubled parts of the country. Nigerian army troops on Wednesday killed 3 bandits in Mangu in a renewed offensive to curb attacks. Constitutionally, the armed forces are tasked with protecting the territorial integrity of the country from external aggression. They also provide aid to civil authorities, the police being the lead agency for internal security. The Nigeria Security Report released by Beacon Intel highlights the challenges the service chiefs and allied forces are confronted with. Data for June has shown there were 460 incidents that resulted in 239 abductions and 854 fatalities across 234 local government areas in 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The North Central had the highest number of fatalities. The numbers will further be pushed up by recent killings in Plateau and Benue State, where the death toll in Saturday's attack in Ukum local government area has risen to 30.
Benue is a peaceful place, and we wouldn't want anything that will tarnish this image. These are killings from within.
The Chief of Army Staff has assured me of the renewed commitment of the Nigerian Army towards ensuring an early resolution of the crisis on the plateau. As a government, we are also ensuring that we do our part. We are providing all the logistic support we can.
We will continue to follow peace, to ensure that we have a peaceful environment. We have taken steps to address the challenges. The new GOC has already moved, like His Excellency just mentioned. We all know Plateau as a home of peace, and we want that peace to be restored. And we're going to do everything that is required to ensure that we achieve peace and tranquility in Plateau State.
But beyond the crackdown, there is a need for the government to pursue an elaborate security sector reform and improve security sector governance, as well as improve transparency. This, according to Beacon Intel, will result in winning the hearts and minds of the people. Sifon Essien, TVC News, Abuja.
Staying with insecurity, the Nigerian army says it will not dialogue with armed bandits or kidnappers, but It will continue to hit hard on the terrorists until peace is restored in all troubled communities, especially in the northern part of the country. The General Officer commanding a division in Sokoto, Major General Godwin Matkut, stated this in Gusau, the Zamfara state capital, and Theophilus Darufai tells us more.
Communities and highways in Zamfara and other states in the northwest region are experiencing the resurgence of banditry and kidnapping. The latest was the ambush on policemen at a checkpoint in Bungudu local council of Zamfara state, which led to the death of 4 police officers last Tuesday. But the General Officer commanded 8th Division Nigerian Army says the army will not succumb to any pressure to reconcile with the armed bandits and other enemies of peace. The Army General stated this while inaugurating RSM House at the Army Cantonment in Gusau.
They've been dealt with. That's why they are calling for negotiation. And that's why they said they want to come out and talk with us. But we are saying talking is not the solution. If they want to surrender, they should come out outrightly and surrender. Nobody negotiated with them before going to the bush. When they wanted to pick up arms against the government, we didn't negotiate with them before they did that. And now that they feel the fire is on them and they want to negotiate, well, I won't call it negotiation. They should just come out and surrender. That's all. Negotiation, I feel, is a booby trap. They've done this in the past and it didn't yield any result. So why still repeating the same mistake again? When they are ready, come out, surrender. We welcome them.
General Mutkut says troops will continue to pursue the terrorists into their hideouts, despite the start of rainy season, which makes it more difficult for troops to access their camps.
Before now, there were plenty places we've not entered. But as it is now, despite the rain, we are going to places that the bandits ab initio believe we don't have the means of entering those places. There are places surrounding the whole of this Zamfara. All the bushes, nooks and crannies, we've been going there and we've been giving them bloody nose.
He says the army is proud of the 1 Brigade Nigerian Army Gusau, especially in neutralizing bandits and the rescue of hostages. The assurances by the army authorities to rid Zamfara and other northern state of insecurity is coming at a time the Zamfara State Governor David is seeking the support of the defense headquarters and the European Union to tackle the menace of banditry and kidnapping in the state. Theophilus Darufai, TVC News, Gusau.
You're watching TVC Midday News. There's more in a moment. Please stay with us.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known, for when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century, speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Sometimes it's the story that calls. At other times, the people just want to be heard.
I need students, but I need teachers.
Can't continue like this.
Their voices re-echoing through time itself.
We haven't done anything. If the tide is high, everybody run for safety.
Their tears leave a sweet sour taste for all. Their demands, a familiar call beckoning for change. In our world, no one expects a disaster to happen. But when it does, we'll be there to x-ray all sides, from the east to the west, north and south. Committee Forum will examine the oddities and challenges to economic development, as well as issues yearning for government intervention. Watch fresh episodes of Community Forum on Sundays by 9:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Thanks a lot for staying with TVC News. The Department of State Service has charged former Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele to court. Recall that an Abuja High Court had on Thursday this week ordered the DSS to either charge Mr. Emefiele to court or release him on administrative bail. The service had in 2022 applied for a court order to detain him in respect of a criminal investigation. And though the former CBN governor had obtained a restraining order from an FCT High Court, the service arrested him in June this year on the strength of suspected fresh criminal infractions or information, one of which forms the basis for his current prosecution. And the DSS assures the public of professionalism, justice and fairness in handling the matter. Operatives of the Ilorin Zonal Command of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission have arrested 13 Chinese nationals over alleged illegal mining activities. The suspects, comprising a female and 12 males, were arrested at the GRA area of Ilorin. The offense is contrary to and punishable under Section 1, subsection 8b of the Miscellaneous Offences Act of 1983, and prior to their arrest, investigations on the activities of illegal miners in the state had revealed that the operators have different illegal mining sites in almost all local government areas. The Ilorin Zonal Commander of the EFCC, Michael Zekwe, says the suspects will be arraigned in court upon the conclusion of ongoing investigations. In Taraba State, the House of Assembly has cleared Governor Agbo Kefas's 21 commissioner nominees for appointment as members of the state's Executive Council. Chairman of the House Committee on Information, Nelson Lent, says the State Assembly is impressed with their level of competency. Owolabi Adenusi filed in this report.
The House Chairman on Information said the commissioner nominees were all cleared at the end of rigorous exercise. He explained that there was an act of omission from the governor, as there was no nominee from Yori local government area of the state.
21 nominees were sent into the House by the Executive Governor for screening and confirmation, which a few minutes ago we just concluded the process. I will tell you, from what you ask is not an oversight. I want to assure you the Executive Governor is fully aware of this and is working on it. And I assure you, and I assure the people of Yoro, that he's going to come up with something to represent them. It is their constitutional right, and it is stated in the Constitution as well, that at least a nominee of commissioner, one from each local government, should be represented.
He commended the governor for attaching the portfolios of the nominees, which he believed helped the lawmakers to ask specific questions to ascertain their level of competence.
The House is very much impressed with this set of nominees. You can tell for yourself, this wasn't just a mere exercise. They were thoroughly screened, and you can tell from what they presented before the House, they are well experienced and vast in areas where they are posted to serve. And I want to assure you, and I want to let you know, that this particular House will work hand in hand to see that these nominees, by the time they are being sworn in, they deliver on their mandate. This is the first time, if I am not quoted wrong, that nominees are sent into the House with portfolios attached to them. This is for the purpose of being concise on questions that should be asked to those nominees. And you will believe me that they did very well, and the House are very impressed with their performance.
The House also approved over 40 advisors for the governor.
Outside Nigeria now, India's space agency has launched its homegrown Chandrayaan-3 moon mission at the Satish Dhawan Space Center today. Built on a budget under $75 million, the Chandrayaan will attempt to land a rover on the moon and establish India as a formidable force in space exploration. A 43.5-meter launch vehicle will blast the spacecraft into an elliptical Earth orbit before it loops forward or towards the moon for a scheduled landing near the moon's south pole around August the 23rd this year. If successful, Chandrayaan-3 will make India the fourth nation to successfully land a spacecraft on the moon, joining the Soviet Union, the United States, and China. That's TVC Midday News. From all of us here, many thanks for watching. We'll leave you now with the weather forecast. Bye for now.